through the race with vehicle and asset finance from ABSA. Today, tomorrow, together.
The ABSA Off-Road Championship's next stop after the season opener in Darling in the Western Cape moves to the hub of tourism in KwaZulu-Natal, Hluhluwe, for what was previously known as the Sugarbelt 400. And judging by early season form, there are at least half a dozen crews in each one of the highly competitive classes who could realistically, in 7 races' time, be called national champions. With the St. Lucia wetlands around the corner and Richards Bay just 100 kilometers up the road, the Nissan Hluhluwe 400 is due to become a classic on the off-road racing calendar. The headquarters for the race will be adjacent to the Hluhluwe airfield, quite appropriately, as the form teams and some of the privateers are already doing some low flying early on. But on this route, which consists of 340-kilometer loops, the emphasis will be on finishing rather than all-out speed. For the organizers, it's an opportunity to expose the sport to a new market and introduce it to new pastures.
Yeah, we thought we'd bring off-road racing, us at Natal Off-Road Motor Club, we thought we'd bring off-road racing to a new community, a community that hasn't experienced the splendor of off-road racing. And this area has a lot to offer. We've got an area that's traditionally been a game farming area. It's also a pineapple area that is prolific in pineapples. And we just felt that the community has come on board and they've offered us this huge area to bring off-road racing to a new group of members of the public.
And no doubt they'll also get a few new fans on the way. The route on the Elephant Coast will be testing, rough and very challenging for the vehicles and their occupants, taking teams through some game farming areas featuring sand, forests which will make tree dodging interesting, and the track will consist of 3 equal loops of 140 kilometers each, with a designated service point situated at the airfield, allowing repairs and sustenance breaks, while the prologue will be a time trial over 45 kilometers next to the Hluhluwe River for a lot of the time. The prologue will as always be a race against time to secure a good starting position, therefore eliminating riding behind someone and eating their dust all day long. There is another new development in the presentation of the race, an expo a la the Cape Leg, where thousands flock to see the drivers and their chargers before the off.
Obviously, in an effort to market the event, we are offering an expo in the Empangeni area. This expo is going to be based at the Intercity Nissan in Empangeni. This expo is really to market the event to the community, to the new community, and get a little bit of corporate involvement, and hopefully that these corporate people and the public people will obviously be coming up to spectate at our event.
And there is an incredible amount of terrain at their disposal.
We've planned a little bit of everything. We've got some nice fast sections, in fact very fast sections. It'll be along game fences. We've also got some tight sections through the trees. There's some magnificent areas where we follow alongside riverbeds. There's the traditional fever trees. There's fever trees and natural bush. The track has been mowed, so we're really excited that we've got a nice wide, fast track, and we're looking for lots of finishes.
The Hluhluwe airfield will do duty as the start for the race proper, which presents the pit area with a brand new look and feel.
We really are spoiled with the pit area this year. We've been offered a pit area alongside the airstrip. So we've got a 1.4 kilometer area, about 400 meters, and we really are looking to use the space effectively. And we're offering a lot of corporate companies to become involved, or more involved in off-road racing, as well as the local community and the areas that support this area to get involved in off-road racing and enjoy the spectacle.
Which no doubt there will be lots of for all the fans of off-road racing, but that's not all there will be to see.
Hluhluwe village is central in the Elephant Coast region, which is in the southeastern part of KwaZulu-Natal. It's one of the 6 regions of KwaZulu-Natal, well known for its wildlife, with the Hluhluwe Umfolozi Game Reserve within 10 minutes drive of the village of Hluhluwe, and on the other side 15 minutes drive down to False Bay, which is the top end of the Greater St. Lucia Wetland Park, a World Heritage Site. The area is well known for its diversity, having a marine reserve connected to a wildlife reserve, and visitors can go to the website www.elephantcoast.org off-road.org.za and find what they need to look for in this region. With over 1,000 beds for tourists to stay at the various lodges and hotels, we would welcome any visitor who is coming to take part in the forthcoming rally to support this venture.
So that's the sightseeing and nature side of things covered, but the racing will be of a high standard. But why has the sport become so competitive in the last few seasons in South Africa? We asked Atlas Copco veteran Nick Harper.
Well, I think the vehicles have advanced in the last couple of years to a point where the pace is very, very fast. And as a result of that, when you're running at that kind of pace, you need to prep your vehicles extremely well. And then after you finish the race, you basically have to strip the vehicle right down and rebuild it. And that's where car tech comes into it. Previously, there was nobody stocking the kind of stock that we've got here, kind of spares that we've got, enabling a racing driver or a team to come and purchase the stuff straight away, put brand new stuff on the car, get that car race prepped for the next race. As a result of that, we're getting much more cars going faster and a much higher finishing rate. Before, you know, in the old days, if you got the car to the line, you'd win. And the other guys would come along afterwards, fixing their problems as they go. Now you've got 20 cars as good, all prepped well, and all going flat out to the finish. You know? So it's become much more competitive.
The special vehicle category in particular has become a spectacle of note, with more and more space frame cars staying the course, being competitive and making the racing extremely hard.
You know, every year it's been, thanks to Brandon and putting the frames together and developing new bats all the time, the interest is certainly in the special vehicles, and we're selling second-hand cars. They're moving just as quickly as the new cars. And there's a market for these second-hand bats. They're really selling well. And the field is just growing and growing, Class B and Class A. It's fantastic, you know.
And it's fantastic to watch them race too. But it's not just about having a technologically advanced car underneath you. Physically, things have been stepped up quite a few notches too.
I think you've got to be very fit. 20 years ago, I ran my first comrades, and I ran 4 in a row, and then I sort of hung up the running shoes and went on to racing motorcycles. While I was racing motorcycles, you know, the motorcycle keeps you relatively fit because you do a lot of training on the bike. And at that stage, I used to just cycle and ride the motorcycle, kept me very fit. When I got into cars, you know, at first you didn't have to be that fit, but now with the level of racing where we're going sort of time trial pace the entire race, you have to be extremely fit. And I decided to sort of go back to running again, and one thing led to another. It was just supposed to be a training to keep fit to race a car. I ended up running another 6 comrades, and they got my green number. Since I got the green number, I haven't run any more comrades, but I still continue to train every day, and I think that's very, very important. If your fitness levels are high, your reaction time is going to be far better. And you can see it in the long races like the Roof of Africa and the desert race, where we've done extremely well. It's not that I'm going faster at the end, it's just I can see everybody else is starting to go slower, and that's where I seem to have an edge over them. So yes, fitness is everything, you know.
And what about the Atlas Copco that took Nick and Son Ryan to such a good finish in the Western Cape?
Yeah, look, it's a brand new car. Atlas Copco have put in their bit. They've got 2 racing cars out there now, 2 very, very good front-running cars. It was the first time out in that car. We didn't have time to test it really in the dirt. We basically had just time to run it in. The suspension setup wasn't right. The car wasn't handling right. But, I mean, 3rd place is a fantastic result for bat racing, Atlas Copco and car tech, you know. So we were extremely excited about that, you know. Hopefully we can get a better place in the next race, after a better setup, you know.
For forwards Brandon Harkus, son of a South African legend Arthur, he was practically born with a steering wheel in the hand and remembers the startup days of the sport very well.
Well, I've been in off-road racing since I can remember, being around my dad. He started in the early 70s. I think he also started with track racing and then finally found his way and probably his home to the off-road. He built his own cars, probably 5 or 6 different types. They were always single-seaters. And you know, things have progressed so much since then. I think those guys used to do 1,600-kilometer Roof Africas. Sometimes they get lost for half an hour. They'd break down for 2 hours and they were still able to win the race. So, you know, things have progressed in terms of, say, off-road in the 70s to what it is today. And I think from my dad, I obviously had it in the genes. And I started off with 1996 with Group N racing, then I progressed to go-karts. And once I finally also found my home back in off-road racing, I think that's where that racing started. You know, I went to America to buy myself a car. It's too expensive, too long to wait, and I thought I'll build my own car. So I came back, I thought I'd have it done in 6 weeks. Well, the first car took a year. That first car went to Gary Bertoldt, and first time out in the qualifying at the desert race, he put it on second position overall. Sitting on the airplane, Reghard came up with the name Bat, and we all asked, well, why Bat? He said, well, a car will be as fast as a bat out of hell, and that's actually how that name originated. And since then, in 2002, we've gone on to win 21 out of 32 nationals. Considering the first year was a bit tough, obviously developing the product, we had a few failures in terms of the products we chose. Since then, it's been really a winning streak for us. And if you look at the past 9 races, we've won 8 out of 9 races overall, including Class B. We've won 8 out of 9. And we've generally dominated the sport since 2003. We've won 3 championships in Class A, being 2003, 2005, and obviously last year, 2006. Class B has been good for us too. We've run class championships in 2005 and last year, 2006. And we look to definitely taking both again this year. Now, we have definitely strength in numbers. We've got 21 cars racing at the last race, 15 in Class A, 6 in Class B. And we make up a third of all entries, including specials and production vehicles. So, you know, BAT's a very dominant force out there, and there's lots of good things on the go. We've got a new car coming, the Spec 3. That's going to take over from the Spec 2, which has been our most successful car to date. The Spec 3, I really foresee, is going to be tough to beat. Lots of changes. It's basically everything that we've learned over the last 4 years into one car. Super competitive, very strong, low maintenance on the car, and I believe it's got the winning package, just as the Spec 2 did, and the Spec 1 previously to that.
The Bats have been dominant in the last 4 seasons, but what makes it so special in the eyes of the owners, drivers and navigators?
One of its secrets is obviously its affordability compared to the US-made cars. The US-made cars come in at about 30% more than us. Obviously, the import duties, the getting the car here, all is excessive cost. We also offer a very good package in terms of if you buy a car from BAT Racing, you're safe in the terms that we'll trade it in, we'll buy it back from you. And that's been the success of BAT. I mean, every year in the beginning, towards the first race, 2 weeks before, you can't buy a car. They're all sold, everybody's moved around, changed their packages, moved from Class A to Class B, got a better package. So there's a great demand for BAT, and they hold a very high trade-in value. And that's the strength of our business. We're the only company in the world that would trade in a special vehicle on any new one, second-hand one. As long as it's a BAT, we'll take it back.
Our Nissan Hluhluwe 400 preview on the Elephant Coast continues.
Vehicle and asset finance from ABSA. Overcoming all obstacles from ABSA. Going off the beaten track to find solutions.
The Nissan Hluhluwe 400 is the next stop on the ABSA Off-Road Championship calendar, and our preview of this brand new race in the north of the Zulu Kingdom continues. Brandon Harkis, after campaigning with great success in the special vehicle category, joined the Ford stable this year to pilot an SP or super production car. The Ford Ranger went well in the Cape.
Yeah, no, it was a great event for me, Cape Town, especially being the first event in SP. I was a bit apprehensive going down there, not knowing what the vehicle's limits are, not knowing what my limits were. And at the end of the day, when you start to race a new car, you really need to know those things. So I took a cautious approach, but not too cautious, and it worked out really well for me. You know, my strategy through the race was just to let the race come to me, and that's what happened. You know, it was a great result. It felt like a win. I look forward to the next race. Obviously, some more kilometers. I've probably done 500 kilometers in the vehicle now, so I'm looking forward to it. And I think with every race, it's going to get better for me. Although I haven't got any pressure on myself yet, I would say probably by the middle of the year, I'll be at maximum and full speed by then. But it's really important for me to bank some points, and that's my strategy for the first 3 races, is just to get as many points as I can, and I'll take it from the middle of the year and see where I lay in the championship from there.
Slowly, slowly, catchy monkey, as they say, and Harkis knows this well. His experience has stood him in good stead.
You know, I think, like I said before, you know, when everybody starts out motor racing, they aspire to race for a factory team. Although when I first started, everybody starts out as a privateer to own time, money, effort. I then moved from there to motor out team, which I would consider to be a factory style team. I really had a good 1.5 years with them. And I learned a lot about brand awareness then, motivating the team, your own public image. So you learn all the way through motorsport. You need to learn these things. And obviously stepping up to SP class now, being involved in manufacturers, it's really important. From starting off with your team, there's people's livelihoods at stake there. It's not just for yourself anymore. You have to consider that, although you need to go quick and to win races. I mean, Ford are in there to gain coverage. They're not there to do anything but win. So the pressures are always different, and it's exciting. Although it can be at times quite a lot of pressure, you need to put that aside and remember the basics of what you need to do as a racing driver.
With his conservative approach, Harkes may well be a good bet for a second podium in a row. In Class B, the Century Properties bat of Ernest Corbett has been a feature for a while.
It started out with Mark racing, and I backed him up for years. And then when the bats started to get built, he said, listen, let's build 2 bats. And I said, I'll give it a go. So then we both raced. Then, of course, Granny's involved always. That's my wife, of course. I'm a grandfather. And, I mean, all the family goes. Except my one daughter, because her husband races bikes, off-road bikes. So she's usually going in a different direction to back her husband up. But everybody races in the family.
And for the Corbetts, it's obviously a complete family affair. It appears that it's only the family pooch that doesn't lend a hand.
My wife's main job is to make sure I don't pass out. So she's forever pouring water all over me and making sure I drink. And then in the pits, my one daughter looks after the helmets, make sure they're clean, and I'm drinking water. Also for Mark. And then Mark's wife always supplies all the food for all of us. Because, I mean, we have mechanics and so on as well.
But it seems that Ernest has a bit of an advantage as the patriarch in the car. A slightly unfair advantage the son-in-law has to obey.
It's actually the best, because he really can't answer back, So if I make a mistake, he can't give me a hard time, because, I'm his father-in-law, and if he makes a mistake, I can give him a rough time, which is nice. But we get on really well. And we have an agreement that if I have a puncture, which happens from time to time, I don't get out of the car at all, because it takes too much energy, so he has to get out. So that's also quite nice. He does all the hard work.
Corbett Sr. has it all worked out nicely. For son Mark, it was, I want more.
That's Mark. It was never me. I never had the guts earlier in life, or had the money, to consider any kind of motorsport at all. But we rode bikes for years. Off-road bikes, that was our passion, right from when he was 5 years of age. But then he started to race. He got an SVM Jeep. Do you remember those Jeeps? His last year at varsity, he bought that as his varsity car, which he also raced. So after every race, of course, he wasn't at varsity on the Monday because he was fixing the Jeep, because they used to break a lot. And that's how it started.
And Corbett Sr. says he feels like a king in his own kingdom. It's the old story. A family that plays together stays together.
Well, the first thing is to have built a family, like I have. We have a very tight-knit group. As you know, we all live together. We have a property out here, 30 acres. We all live together, which is unbelievable. 2 son-in-laws as well. That's not necessarily that easy in South Africa. Because young guys in South Africa like to flap their wings too. But so that's at its moments, but we get on really well. So that's I think in itself is a major achievement. None of my kids are living in England or something. Well, we do new projects now that we have more time and a bit of extra cash. We do a lot of projects up north. Each year we go out there for a few months and we go to schools and we hand out booklets on... essentially what we're doing is getting the children to understand that they have rights, because they don't know about that. So, there is a slave trade up there that people don't talk about, but it is going on. And it basically is happening because the children don't know that they can stand up for themselves. And at the same time, we hand out other booklets, which is called Way to Happiness, which teaches, which gives you precepts for happy living, like be responsible, be industrious, which is the responsibility part. So the main message we give is, you have human rights and you must have your human rights. And at the same time, for you to make sure you have them, you have to make sure others have them too.
A credo we hope becomes strong in all South Africans' lives. For Ernest, the 06 crown was big.
You know, we were lucky enough to win last year, which is nice. I mean, it's a nice thing to have done. So really, at this point, I'm more concerned about Mark doing better, doing nicely, and at giving Dakar a go. So I think we'll put our attention on that to back him up, and also the new car we're building. You know, I'll have to test that. So probably when the car's ready, I'll race that under A, which will be a little daunting, because the speed there is a lot faster than I run. But that'll be a new challenge, and I'll test the car for him, and maybe that's the car we'll take to Dakar.
For Nissan, their flagship races are the most important in a series which they've been dominating for a while. The red and white brand, with four-time national champion Hannes Hluhluwe leading from the front, will be out in full force.
The two Nissan races are obviously very important to us. It gives us an opportunity to go to places in the country where motor racing doesn't get to too often, and also it gives us an opportunity to mix with fans. So the one in Darling is always a great event, and we're really looking forward to going to Hluhluwe this year. Hluhluwe is such a booming area of KZN, and the local community seem very excited about the race, and so we're very excited to go there.
Indeed, it's quite possible that the Elephant Coast will never be quite the same again. And clearly, this is a great marketing opportunity. That's why Nissan pours expertise, time and money into the sport.
Commercial value for Nissan is quite important when we evaluate all our activities, and motorsport is a key activity in all our marketing activities, making sure that we show people what our cars can do, and the competitive environment is obviously very important. Now, the benefit of going to such important commercial areas like Hluhluwe is that we obviously have the opportunity to interact with a lot of business people, a lot of consumers and vehicle buyers in that area, and we have the opportunity to show them exactly what our cars can do.
Vehicle and asset finance from ABSA, going the extra mile to get you financed.
This is the Nissan Hluhluwe 400 preview. The fact that this is a new location and therefore new conditions makes the playing field level. But one can still expect the Nissan pairing of Hluhluwe and his navigator Francois Jordan to be right up there in the Navara. They won the Nissan Dealer 400 title handsomely in Darling, while their teammates Duncan Foss and Ralph Pitchford will back them up to the hilt. Manufacturers' trophy holders Toyota put their top pair, ever-improving Mark Grenier and Chris Birkin, against their Japanese rivals in the all-new Hilux. The Absolute Parlor World Ford Ranger, featuring super steady Manfred Schroeder and Ward Huxtable, who are the reigning Class E champions, will be right up there again after a fine pipe opener. Harkis and his co-driver Jean Moore will be dangerous, what with his declared racing strategy well known. But Ford's Neil Woolridge and Kenny Schulthammer, the national SP champions, will want to get their own back after a disappointing mechanical failure-ridden Western Cape leg. Corbett Jr., Mark and his nav Rudy Balzer and their Century Property Development Nissan Navara have also shown a market improvement and will be there or thereabouts. There are 10 entries in the SP class, and it's loaded with keen racing and intense manufacturers' rivalry. Should be good to watch. In Class D, the two BB Auto Nissan hardbody entries will be keenly watched as the sibling rivalry between the Duplessis rage on, while Evergreen Henry Zamatna and his brother Maurice will hopefully keep the Rhobi flag flying high in their Nissan after it did not finish in the Cape. Kutsia Labaskachny and Johan Gerber in the Raceonics Nissan will also be a threat and have been more and more consistent with every passing race. And in Class E, all eyes will also be on Yanni Visser and Joks Leroux as they try to clinch a second consecutive win. But a danger pairing could be Jack Peckham and Lucio Santoro in their factory Ford Ranger. Peckham is a local, and his knowledge here could be vital. But in off-road racing, there really is no form book, and after the Darling run, it's 5 Nissans in the top 10 on the championship log. But there are still hundreds of Ks to race and many stories to be told before the crown finds a head to rest on. In the specials, the motorite bat of Evan Hutchison and Akim Bergman will be looking for the same formula as the Western Cape, where they and reigning champ Alfie Cox and his co-driver Henny Versteger took a 1-2 finish home. While the Harpers would have worked tirelessly to get their cars set up right after suspension settings let them down. Not that it halted their progress, they were third after all. Still in Class A, Shamir Variawa and Siegfried Rousseau in the Total Porter went well in the Cape, which spells out a good short-term forecast. With a TTR racing crew of Naim Musaji and Rehan Barhania always ready for a good scrap. And the same can be said for Naldus Alberts and Colin Hunter in the all-red Big Rapsa bat. With the Edenko bat of Johan and Etienne Besaidnout 10th on the log, they'll be ready to grab more championship points. But they'll all be chasing the motorized bats of Hutchison and Cox if the first race is anything to go by. But then can you ever go on anything in the off-road discipline? Methinks not. We hope to see you at Hluhluwe on Friday the 13th of April for the prologue. And no, we're not superstitious. Touch wood. Until then, you keep it on the road, we'll keep it off-road.
That was the ultimate test, the ABSA Off-Road Championship. Now fast-track yourself.